Can you beat Dark Souls Remastered with a different challenge per area? And what I said might have been a little bit too broad. So what I will be doing is trying to go through every area that I can, and I will be using AI to generate me a different challenge run. So for example, with the Asylum I could not use any stamina, and later on, for example, let's say New Londo Ruins, I have to go throughout that area and kill the boss while being overloaded. And let's get started by focusing on the first challenge, not using any stamina. Well, how do you not use any stamina? Well, that's a shitty question that's pretty hard to answer, so let's answer the question, how do you use stamina? Stamina is used by sprinting, attacking in any way, dodging, backstepping, just almost everything. So this does sound impossible, right? But there luckily is a way around it. Unlike Dark Souls 2, in this game you can cast spells, miracles, and pyromancies without consuming any stamina. So I just chose the pyromancer and went on my way. And honestly, this area wasn't too hard. Obviously, I couldn't fight any of the enemies, I couldn't sprint past them, but since they were mostly idle and not too hard, I can just kind of walk around them. And now it's time for the Asylum Demon, which is a fight that's actually possible because we have enough fireballs to kill him with just that, and an extra to spare if you miss. Now, not only is this fight doable, it's pretty easy. You just have to keep your distance, and you can actually end up baiting this guy quite a lot with the butt attacks. And if that doesn't happen, you can kind of just bait on attacks and walk past them at a certain distance and spam fireballs. And soon enough, on my first try, I'm able to get the Asylum Demon, which is a lot better than last run where I had to fist him to death 3 times. So I then wobble to the edge, and now it's time for firing. I then put the rest of my souls into Dex because I will be needing lots of different stats for the tons of weapons that I use. And also it's time I get a little bit deeper into the rules of the run. And let's just start from the beginning. I was super duper bored and I had no clue what to do, so I thought of the genius idea to ask ChatGPT for a run idea, but the runs that it gave me were either just not unique enough to be its own run or just too easy. So then I just wrote down all the challenge run ideas I got from ChatGPT and put them in this randomizer thing, so I just randomly picked one after another. So every time I beat a challenge, it'll randomly pick another one for me. So I can choose to go to whatever area I want and finish that challenge there. And I also do get one skip, because sometimes there'll only be a couple areas open at that time, and the challenge is basically impossible for those areas. And so the next challenge I got was using bow only. So my game plan is to get a bow and then kill the bell gargoyles with it. So I would run past the Valley of the Drakes, and I actually get it on my first try where I don't get hit off by the dragon. I then go grab the Grass Crest Shield, because why not have extra stamina? And then I also go kill the Crystal Lizard with my Pyromancy Flame, because the challenge that I get only applies to the area that I choose. And then I grab this armor set here that also comes with the bow. And my 3 goals so far are to get some arrows, to upgrade the bow, and to be able to use the bow. And I thought it'd be tough if I ran under his tail here, which did not work. I then used my 2 souls that I got to be able to use the bow, and I used the starting arrows to farm these knights over here. So then began the process where I started farming these knights. I kill those 3, go back, buy some arrows, and eventually every couple runs I could buy an extra Titanite shard. Which was pretty annoying because every time you shot an arrow, it's basically just losing souls. So these knights took 5 shots to kill, so I'd lose 15 souls and they give me like 80 souls, so I'd gain 65 souls per guy. I then killed the big scary guy over here, which actually dropped me his stuff. I then grabbed the Firekeeper soul. I then started taking out the Channeler for 2 reasons, because I did not want to fight him alongside the Hollows, and I didn't want him to buff them. So I started quick beating him like in Siege, where I just get out of the pillar, shoot him, and go back behind the pillar. I do stagger these enemies with each hit, but it is pretty hard to hit them. And yeah, I was not wrong about these Hollows. They are pretty hard to kill because I don't one-shot them, so they're all charging at me at once, and they all jump attack me, and half the time the arrow misses them, so they just land on my face and almost kill me. These guys were so annoying that I was even trying to hold angles on them. But after a little while, I finished them off, and now it's time for the Bell Gargoyles. And I wasn't doing as much damage as I would have liked to, so I started farming these Hollows over here to get my bow to +5. I then tried farming this demon over here, which did not work. And I didn't want to kill all the enemies every time I wanted to reattempt this boss, so I tried running past them. And the strat that worked for me is I ran to the middle of the church, did a quit out, then ran to the knight, baited the Hollow down the stairs, ran past them, and had to do some good well-timed dodges on the Hollows. And the biggest problem about this fight is just keeping your distance. These are one of the fights where you have to be far away, obviously, because you're using a bow, and if you're up close, he's just moving back and forth, up and down, so it's impossible to hit him. The only hard part with this is that it tracks up distance really fast, so it will just sprint at you, and you're on top of a giant roof. So you have to be careful to not get too lost, not to get caught up in the moment, because a lot of times you'll just walk off, or he'll hit you off, or breathe fire and knock you off. But eventually I was able to get the first golem down, and once it's just 1 golem remaining, it's pretty easy. And just like that, the first bell has been rung. And now it's time for my next challenge, which is magic only. And I also want to let you guys know the challenges in this run will be ranging a lot. Some will be just using a bow or magic, and some will be almost impossible. I then realized once I hit the Blighttown Lotric's gonna kidnap my Firekeeper, and I really do not want to have one less checkpoint, so I kick him off, almost aggroing him while I do so, and I get a free ring and I get to keep my Firekeeper. And now the game plan is to go ahead and kill Quelaag, but first off I need spells, and just in general I need a catalyst. So it's time to backtrack through the Undead Parish to go to the Burg, and then to go to where the Capra demon is. And this guy right here always gets me. I then finally get past him, I kick down this ladder for an extra shortcut, and now it's time to explore the Burg, which I end up getting stuck on this guy for about 5 minutes. Because even though I don't have to use a bow anymore, that's the only weapon I have. I then buy the reinforced club from this guy, and to make sure it's good, I test it out on him. I then started running across this giant bridge, half expecting to get blown up by the giant red dragon, but then I realized he doesn't spawn till after the terrorist demon. You learn something new every day. And I actually have no reason to kill Solaire this time, so he'll get to live today. And after flying down this absurdly long ladder, don't mind that. And then I go ahead and free Griggs of Vineham so I can get some spells, and I just run throughout this entire area. That way I can unlock the shortcut. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot about the shortcut and I never ended up using it. So I ran back to Firelink, and guess who was there to greet me? Griggs of Vineham. So I then buy a catalyst, almost every spell he has, and a ring. That way I do 20% more magic damage, which is actually be very useful. I then try to upgrade my intelligence and faith, but I accidentally put it into resistance. I also put some in attunement, that way I can equip 2 spells. And now I'm off to Blighttown, and really nothing extraordinary happens because I have the Master's Key, so I just get a shortcut, and the entire thing consists of running past these 3 golems, and then just dropping down some ledges. I then spend the next 5 minutes slow walking throughout the swamp, and now it's time for Quelaag. And although this is a challenge run, this isn't a non-glitch run. So once I enter Quelaag's arena, I jump up into this corner, which propels me up here. I don't know how exactly this works. And from here, I'm able to target onto her head and keep spamming spells, which keeps stunning her, so she can't lava attack me, and I just have her in this infinite loop. And to be fair, I couldn't even kill her if I didn't do this, because right now I'm getting headshot damage, which is twice the amount of damage as body shot damage. So if I was down there, I probably would not have been able to kill her. So with that, Quelaag is dead, and I finally ring the second bell, opening up Sen's Fortress. I then go get Power Within, which is guarded by this weird prolapsed anus. Then I run all the way back up to Undead Parish, and now it's time for Sen's Fortress. And this is going to be a little bit tricky, because the challenge for this area is no death. And you may be wondering, what does that challenge mean? And that just means I cannot die in this area, and if I do, I have to restart the entire run. And I don't know why I chose to do this challenge on Sen's Fortress. Like, this is one of the hardest areas. So I took my time between every axe, I timed everything. I ran past some enemies, but I made sure to quit out every single time I did so. And every time I ran past any boulders, I would run halfway up, do a quit out to make sure I was nice and safe. And this was very scary, but somehow I was able to make it out of Sen's Fortress without dying. But now I'm just on the roof, and this is still part of the same challenge. And honestly, I would say the roof is scarier for just one reason and one reason alone: the golem at the top. First off, you have to kill him, or the iron golem fight is just too risky and just not fair. But he's just so unpredictable. He just goes crazy, you can't even dodge or predict his attacks. But you can kind of bait him, run down the stairs, come back up, and slash him out. And since my weapon does bleed damage, this overall was not too hard. And now it's time for my final task of this area. I have to beat the iron golem without dying, and if I die here, I have to restart the entire run. So let's make a deal here. If I'm able to beat this guy, you guys gotta like and subscribe. And I don't know why, but this fight was actually tough. Firstly, because I could not pull off any sorceries. Those were the only things that did remotely close to anywhere near enough damage, and they were just too slow when he knocked me out of it, and it's just not worth risking getting hit off. And that quit out right there might have just saved me. But that was just telling me that I was being too greedy and I had to play it more carefully. But I just did so little damage. This is 3.5 minutes into the fight, and I'll just let you watch this clip. And I don't know why I was just struggling so much with this boss fight. So I actually ended up getting the bonfire, and I got my reinforced club to +5, and let me tell you, this was a game changer. It did so much more damage, like 2 or 3 times the amount of damage, and it staggered him, so he just fall on the floor and I keep being able to hit him. And with that, the iron golem is finally dead. And it just feels like a huge weight just got lifted off my shoulders, and now it's time for Anor Londo. I firstly spend my hard-earned souls. I then start taking out these giant golems, that way I can take out the Mimic, who has somehow learned Kung Fu. And I totally forgot about the challenge for this area, but that doesn't matter too much since I haven't made any progress. And the challenge I got from this area was to be overloaded. And currently I physically can't be overloaded because I don't have enough heavy equipment, but trust me, once I get to the middle of Anor Londo, that will change. And in the meantime, being on my heavy load is still pretty annoying. But honestly, as long as you don't roll, you're most likely not to get hit out of stuff, and you're, for the most part, fast enough to sprint past things. So after I parry this knight, I finally make it to the second half of Anor Londo, and this is where the real challenge begins. Then I roll through this not-so-secret illusionary wall, and now it's time for my loot. First off, I kill this Mimic, which I did not need to kill, but I want to know what he drops, and I loot up these chests which have the Havel gear, and I think you know what that's gonna do. It really sucks that I have this challenge for one of the longest areas, but this could be one of the shortest areas if you do the shortcut, which I cannot do since I'm not able to jump. So I'll have to slow walk like this throughout the rest of the area, which honestly only takes like 5 minutes, and especially because these enemies are so easy to parry, that's not really a problem. The only kind of hard part is these giants, but I can kind of walk past them and do a little quit out. But this boss, on the other hand, is almost borderline impossible. And of course, this challenge had to be with the one boss that is a gank fight. If this was any other fight, I'd probably be able to do more damage than the damage I take, or like wiggle through their attacks, but this fight I cannot do any of that, because if I try to wiggle through Ornstein's, Snow's just gonna hammer me and yada yada. And the extra poise kind of just made it worse sometimes, because I just keep getting hit and like be able to do nothing about it. And the only thing that makes this fight somewhat bearable and able to do is using the pillars, and I cannot run around them and bait these guys since I can't run at all. And I gave this fight about 5-ish tries, and then I just was getting nowhere close, so I decided to use my one reroll, and I got a randomized challenge. And that was using only enemy item drops. So I started farming the Silver Knights here, and I farmed them for quite a while. And eventually I realized I already had an item drop from this area, and I was killing the Mimic back at the beginning, and I was hoping I was using this entire time to farm these guys, which is kind of ironic, I guess. So I then killed the Titanite Demon, and now it's time for Ornstein and Smo. And honestly, I was shitting on these guys, man. The strat where you literally just hit Ornstein a couple times, run behind the pillars and bait him out was working flawlessly. I did occasionally get hit, but honestly it was worth it because I got hit and hit him at the same time. And honestly, fighting Smo in the second phase is always harder to me for some reason. And I think that's because of the jump lightning butt attack, which almost one-shots you, and I never knew how to dodge it until just like this fight, so I just realized I could just bait him, so he kept doing that attack and I kept running back and hitting him back. And that basically summed up this fight. So with that, I finally claimed my surprise, or my reward, and that is teleportation. And my next challenge was Covenant items only, and the only way I thought to do this was to go ahead to the Catacombs and join Nito's Covenant, and yeah, that's basically it. And Patches thought he was slick, but you know, you saw that reaction time, so I had to go ahead and kill Patches for that. I then dropped down this ledge and wait in this tomb for about 10 to 15 minutes before I realized something has to be wrong, and that is I don't have any black orbs in my inventory, so I go ahead, run behind this demon, which was pretty risky, but I get those black orbs, I go back in the tomb, and I'm finally able to go down under. And now that I'm at Nito, all I have to do is join his Covenant, where I get a free Pyromancy and a free weapon. I originally thought the only way to get to Pinwheel was through this route with the Black Knight, which was very annoying, but luckily I found another one, and I did miss this ledge quite a bit, but you can just parkour downwards and run straight to Pinwheel. And Pinwheel is a pretty easy fight. I always try to make this fight last longer than it should, but he kind of just stands there, duplicates himself, and does nothing else. And with Pinwheel defeated, I go ahead and try to get the Tomb of the Giants bonfire, which does not go too well because I cannot see anything, and I don't know why they leave it like this and give you no source of light. But that's going to be a problem for another day, because it's now time for the new challenge. So I head to the forest, I realize I don't have the Crest of Artorias, so I go back to the blacksmith, I buy it, I go to the forest. I then try to take the enemies on, but I realize I don't do so much damage, so I just run straight to the cat, perform a naughty little quit out, join its Covenant, that way the NPCs don't attack me, and that way Shiva spawns, so I go exhaust all of his dialogue, and since I don't have the bonfire in Blighttown, I have to run all the way back down there. I then go find Shiva, and I buy everything that looks cool in his inventory, but the main thing I want to buy is the Demon's Great Axe. I then start killing him, and then I also go ahead and kill his ninja friend. I don't know exactly why I did it, but I did it. I then upgrade my strength a little bit, and I don't know what I was doing here and why I decided to jump off, but it's part of the death Taj, so yeah. I try to run past all the enemies, but the dogs right here end up getting me, and then it's time for the Capra Demon, where I get touched by the dogs again. But finally, with all the dogs killed, it's time to see if I can one-shot the Capra Demon, and I don't. Now, I don't know why I wasn't thinking about this, but I just thought I couldn't use Power Within because I didn't have the Pyromancy Flame. I totally forgot I started off as a Pyromancer, and I thought I had to wait till the depths to unlock the Pyromancy Flame. And I was trying everything here. I even went to the blacksmith, was buying new weapons, upgrading them to the max, and it just was not one-shotting him. I definitely could have used the red tier summoning, but I didn't feel like going to get it, and I didn't feel like having to prep myself. And luckily for me, I didn't have to do any of that because I remembered I was a Pyromancer. And with the Capra Demon dead, I'm able to go pay a visit to the depths, where I grab the large Emperor, which will be very useful, well, mandatory, for one of the runs that's coming up soon, which is the boss weapon only run. I then go ahead and roll through the barrels, freeing this guy so I can get some more Pyromancies later on, and this did not hit me, and it could not have felt that good. Then I go quickly claim the bonfire, and I'm out of this area. And I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but the new challenge is Pyromancy only, so that's kind of why I did all this stuff. So I go back to Firelink, and I buy all of this guy's Pyromancy, as well as getting my Pyromancy Flame to the max at this certain point, Then I head all the way back to Blighttown again because I didn't get any bonfires. And then I buy all of our Pyromancies and I max out my flame again so I can get the most damage and the most variety of good spells. And I did just decide to kill her for no reason, but I did end up getting Fire Tempest out of there, which is probably the best spell I'm going to have, so it was pretty worth it. I then go claim the bonfire here, that way I didn't have to keep running back and forth. And since I had to use Pyromancy, which is obviously only doing fire damage, I thought what bosses are weak to fire, and I didn't really think it. I just looked up to the wiki, and that is Nito. And so I feel like Nito is one of the harder bosses left, and this is a pretty easy challenge. I decided, put 2 and 2 together and make this boss fight not too hard. And as you guys are seeing, I had to run all the way from Firelink through the catacombs to the Tomb of the Giants, and that is not the worst part. The worst part is definitely having to navigate this area without any source of light, and I just don't understand what their thought process was. I also know that Miracles Only is going to be a challenge that's going to happen sooner or later, so I decided to plop down here knowing I'll have 2 not so friendly visitors, and once I kill them in front of the Huz, she will then give me the ability or just let me buy miracles from her. And I didn't show it, but while I was down there I picked up the Skull Lantern, which makes this area so much easier. Without it, it would be practically impossible. So once I got this bad boy, I literally just sprint through every enemy because you don't have to fight a single one here. And now it's time to go ahead and fight Nito. Oh wait, I forgot to place the Lord Vessel like I do every single other playthrough. So I go ahead, place the Lord Vessel, run past 18 pinwheels, enter the fog wall, lose half my health just entering the arena, and now it's time to fight Nito. Nito is one of those bosses that I feel like is very slow, easy to predict, and doesn't move much, but takes like little to no damage. But I was doing crazy amounts of damage to this guy. But on the other hand, this guy was like fast. He just randomly hit me and his attacks were so unpredictable. And adding to that, these little fucking skeletons keep knocking me out of my things because I have no poise. So every time I try to cast Fire Tempest, these little fuckers would just knock me out. And Nito did so much damage. So this is just kind of a wake-up call to upgrade my Estus Flask and just get more health altogether. And just like that, the first Lord boss goes down. And guess what the next challenge is? Actually, I'm not going to give you time to guess, I'm just going to tell you. That is boss weapons only. So I get a scimitar to +10, just showing you how useful the large ember is, and I transfer my scimitar into none other than Quelaag's Fury Sword. And what boss am I going to use this weapon on? That is none other than Sif, because there's no chance I'm going to fight that guy while I'm overloaded or with miracles only. And just like that, I start fighting Sif because there's nothing else I have to do. The path to get here, which was the one that I talked to the cat, is already opened and unlocked, so I just start fighting him. And these are one of the fights where on your first couple tries you will get absolutely railed. But once you realize their flow and how they move, it just gets super easy, and that is a prime example of this fight. Once you realize his attacks come out a lot faster than you anticipate because he winds back really slowly then slashes really quickly, once you learn that simple thing, you just roll right under him and start spamming him. I almost got this fight flawlessly. He did a naughty little trick where he hit me when he was jumping backwards, but besides that, he put Sif down with relative ease. And my next challenge is Consumables only, and I am super thankful that I got it right here at my current state where I can fight so many different bosses. Because if I would have got this one earlier, that would have been quite a problem. So I head back to the depths and I'll run all the way back up here so I can talk to this old lady where I just maxed out on tons of different consumables. And I don't know if you would have guessed it, but the boss I'm going to take out with this is Ceaseless Discharge. Now this fight triggers in 2 ways. You either hit him, they'll start fighting you back, or you pick up his sister's dead clothes, which is a pretty good armor set, so I'm going to vouch for that one. And if you do this, you can technically kind of cheese him. So you grab this armor, then you run all the way to the back of the arena where you started off at. And before you do that, make sure to bait out that little attack you just did there, because if you just full on sprint there, that attack will collide with you and just one-shot you. And once you make it there, just wait and he'll try to jump on you, and yeah, from there on, just start throwing knives, and note that he is immune to dung pies. And just like that, we've beaten an area and a boss with consumables only. And for the next challenge, I got no rolling. Honestly, this challenge was very easy if you just went and fought the Demon Fire Sage. And you're only seeing the boss gameplay, not any in the area, because I totally forgot to start streaming till this. And I just download my streams and talk over them, so that's like how I've done this whole thing. So for this boss fight, it was pretty easy. Whenever he attacked, I just like run around it and run behind his giant plumptuous butt and spam attacks. And that's basically how this whole fight played out. I did die once, but not to him. When I was exploring the area, there was a Capra demon. He did jump attack, and I thought I could backspace that, but as it backspaced, he just fucking slammed his giant cleavers through my head. And as you're seeing, I'm using Quelaag's sword, which is a heavily fire-based weapon against a fire boss, and for some reason, he's just weak to fire. So yeah, this boss was pretty easy, and on my first try, I would kill him, and that challenge is down. And my next challenge is to beat an area with only using the items in that area. And I did use a weapon against this boar because I don't know if that's technically in the Duke's archives, and this is kind of like the same spot as Anor Londo. So just for this part, since I want to get the bonfire, I'll use a weapon. And let me tell you, for a lot of this area, I'm not going to be able to use a weapon. And all the drops here are just souls. So I start making my way to Seath, and yeah, I'm not doing much here. I'm just running past every enemy because I can't fight them. I then parry this guy, sprint past him, and it's time to sacrifice myself to Seath, which is a little bit annoying because I got a lot of souls. but it's fine. I then wake up in a cell where I kill this lizard guy to get a key to get freed from there. I then run past all these, I don't even know what to call it. And sorry, I don't know why the frames are just really weird for some part of the stream. I then go grab the giant key to get out of this place where I end up getting trapped and touched by these lizards. I do find a naughty little secret where if you jump down here, you get an armor set and a ring, which is pretty cool, but not too useful. I then solve some puzzles to make it through this area, and then I start opening a bunch of chests, which I do not get any weapons from, so am I cooked? I mean, there is some enemies here that drop weapons, but I can't even farm them. And to my knowledge, there's no way to even cheese Seath or any of the enemies here. But luckily, there is a weapon to get here. It's not that good, it is a little bit hard to get, but it's still a weapon. So I start backtracking and get ready for this precise timing, because what you have to do here is fall off of something onto another something while you're moving. And with learning how to time it properly, I get it. On my second try, which is actually pretty impressive, and just like that, we have a bow. And my idea was to basically use this bow to kill this mimic here, because this mimic here drops a not so bad weapon. But I did very little damage, and the recovery frames on this weapon are so bad. I'd shoot 3 arrows and I would stand still, unable to move while the mimic just brutally molests. But after about 6 minutes in a very close battle, I thankfully killed this guy. So now it's time to head and go fight Seath, right? Yeah, but this weapon does so little damage, it's actually crazy. And I even leveled up this weapon a couple times too. So now it's my mission to upgrade my crossbow and give that a try. And honestly, the crossbow was pretty good. It didn't do that much more damage than the sword, but it hit 3 times. It was relatively fast. And unlike the mimic, this guy is so slow where I don't have to worry about the recovery times. And also, this fight is only really hard when you're right next to him and he's just spamming those crystals going upwards. If you just keep your distance, spam, and then run away, it's not too hard. Nonetheless, it was still a pretty challenging fight, and it came down to the wire, but I was able to squeak on top and get that victory, the second Lord boss down on the first try. And now we have 3 bosses left to kill, but we only have 2 challenges left because AI decides to get very uncreative and give me very shitty ideas at a certain point. And honestly, I think Beta Chaos is just like a gimmick fight where you don't really need a challenge for. I mean, it's not going to make it harder if I use sorceries only, one-shot only, because the boss is 1 health. And if you don't use rolling or jumping, it's physically impossible. So we will just save the other 2 challenges for the 4 kings and the final boss, and yeah. And let me tell you, the Beta Chaos is going to be very fucking annoying without a challenge. The first phase is always super easy. I also do enjoy how the phases save, so if you kill the first phase, you stay on the second phase. But once it gets to the second phase, it just feels so unfair. The ground is crumbling as he's swinging attacks on you, and his attacks do so much damage, so much stance damage, they feel almost impossible to dodge. And on top of that, if he hits you, you're probably going to fly into the abyss. And not to mention the runback. The runback for this fight is crazy. It's like a 3 to 4 minute runback at the easiest with this shortcut and everything. And the worst part about it is the boss fight lasts 10 seconds. But once you kill the second phase, the third phase is surprisingly a lot easier. For some reason, when more of the floor crumples and firestorms are coming out of the ground, I think that's because you can just kind of go underground and avoid his annoying swing attacks. But eventually on my 4th or 5th try or something like that, I'm able to finally kill the Beta. And my next challenge is overloaded, but I might as well also prep on the Miracle Only. And she's not here, which is very bad because she's the only way I can get Wrath of Gods. And yeah, just Wrath of Gods. I'm gonna need that for the Miracles Only. I also do go ahead and get just the regular Lightning Spear because I don't have any Sunlight Medals and I don't even know if you can dupe them. I then go back to Anor Londo to grab this ring, which I'm pretty sure boosts miracle damage by 20%. And now it's time to farm. I want to get my weapon to +4 or maybe even +5. And sadly, it's Demon Titanite, which is the most annoying thing to get, so I have to kill these guys over here, because my strategy is just to put on full Havel gear so I'm overloaded, and just spam this weapon. And now it's time for New Londo Ruins, and this area was so much worse than Anor Londo. First off, I do my humanities, that way I have more defense, and that way I do more damage, because I'm going to need it. And I was moving so slow that I realized just attacking moved me forward faster than just walking, so I just started doing that. And luckily for me, the enemies here got all one-shotted and were not too hard. And I had to kill every enemy that I came across because obviously I was too slow to run past them. But honestly, it's not even that bad having to kill them. I'm just used to running past them all. And eventually I find my way to the ladder where I kill this guy. That way I can get the key to flood the area. I then have to figure out this little maze over here because I'm used to just jumping over these stairs. And since I can't jump, I then go pull this contraption to release all the water. I then backtrack all the way back here. And I am going to have to kill all the dark raids. But honestly, since I'm just such a tank, I can just block their attacks and outpower them. And what the fuck even is this enemy? And soon enough, it was time for the 4 kings, which did not go so well. Because the whole premises of this fight is you have to run to them right when the fight starts and get real up and close and personal. Because the farther you are away from them, the more damage you hit. But since I was walking so slow, they just kept attacking me and throwing shit at me from a distance that I could never reach them. And by this point, I'm taking so long that even if I do reach him, another one spawns in. And after somehow killing the first one, the second one would just keep grabbing me. He grabbed me like 5 times in a row, and at that point I had no health, so I just quit out. I went to Fire Link, got myself 20 Estus, and then I came back. And I was fucking these guys up. I think it was pretty luck-based because they kept letting me get really close to them. But once I was super close to them, they did 0 damage because I was Havel. They didn't stun me. And I could just spam attacks because I did so much damage. And I was depleting their health bar so fast that I only had to kill 3 of the kings. And with that, all the lord bosses are dead. And all I have left to do is beat Gwyn with miracles. So with that, I come down here to the Hydras to prep for that. Because if I kill this Hydra and do a little bit of a quest line, doesn't take too long, I can get the Crown of Ulasil, which gives me a 30% damage multiplier to spells and miracles and pyromancies. And I ran out of health on that last try because I was only doing light attacks, but with heavy attacks I was actually able to kill the Hydra on my second try. And I ran to the back of the lake, or cove maybe, to kill this giant golden guy, which I'm pretty sure lets Ulasil out or whatever her name is, and I kill her. And I don't get the crown, so on to Gwyn, I guess. And the strat here is to be able to parry him with the shield and hit him with the lightning spear while also being able to fast roll. I also had to hit a little parry-tage on these knights. So right when I run into the arena, he does a jump attack as per usual. I parry it. I tried him with a little grip for the Lord Sword Dance, which is very slow. And realizing this guy is way too fast for me and my spells, I do a little cheese, which involves running to the back of the arena and jumping up so he can't hit you. But he can still very much hit you and he just stun locks me. And this is where I realized that this fight is actually physically impossible for me in my current state because I don't have all the other miracles and because the lightning spear does 47 damage. So I started thinking long and hard of what a good final challenge could be, because honestly this wasn't even that good of a challenge. And that's when I came up with this banger idea, which was to beat Gwyn in no hit, which is obviously relatively hard, but nothing absolutely crazy, but I think it's a nice way to end off the run. And as you just saw, I hit a little quit out where I quit out of the game to save my data, and quit out of the Xbox game. That way, if I get hit or I get killed, I can just delete my recently saved data and I go right there with all the stuff I started off with. And honestly, my first run was going pretty dang well. You can definitely see that I don't really know his attacks, and I kind of just panic roll a lot. I still thought getting 70-ish% of his HP or 60% for my first try was pretty good. I could have got him on my second try, but that was just a shitty parry. And on my third try, he just did his quick ass attack, which I couldn't even react to. And I'll just let you watch my fourth try. And just like that, I've beaten Dark Souls Remastered with a different challenge per area, most areas, because I couldn't think of a challenge for every other area. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment any ideas you have, comment anything I could have done better, and just thank you for watching, and see you in the next one, hopefully.